So that Noble, Terrence Mitchell played football for the Kansas City Chiefs, and what the team he played for? He from Sacramento. He played on Dallas too. He got drafted by Dallas, but I know his whole family. But he detailed his cars. I was like, yeah, I know their whole family. He was like, what? I was like, yeah, ask them they know me. They'll tell you. No, it's grandma, everybody.
It's long. So, let's get it started, family.
Let's get it. All right.
I'm a truth speaking, knowledge seeking.
MyPDFBooks.com. That's books with a Z.
Reality.
Working like a slave, that's how I made this masterpiece. Living like a god, I lay at. I'm a spirit speaking, truth seeking, heart reaching, knowledge leaking, seed sowing, harvesting, man. MyPDFBooks.com. That's books with a Z.
Once again, this broadcast has been brought to you by MyPDFBooks.com. That's books with a Z, where reading fundamental. Also brought to you by FindingBooks.com, where treasures are found. Be sure to get all of your teas at My Son's Teas, the tea of teas, divinely prepared at herbsofmyaunt.com. Be sure to check out all of those musical stylings by Brian Hicks Spade at bhspademusic.com. For your everyday items and religious regalia, be sure to check out MorrisHaberdasher.com. And for that everyday especial Morris Drip, be sure to check out MorrisSachi.com. And all of these companies are powered by ALO Design Codes. Design your online business strategy today.
No such thing as failure, baby. Don't forget to me. You can't be thinking myself, you need to be thinking me. They made you think they seen you, but you can't nobody see.
Peace. How y'all doing, man?
Super peace.
How y'all feeling, man? Man, gratitude for the workout this morning. I feel amazing. Amazing grace. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's get our Moorish American prayer before we get started.
Allah, Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is our protector, our God, and our salvation, by night, by day. It's of the prophet, Ali, Amen. I say, Shalom Aleichem, Arashah, Inshallah, and I say, peace.
I'm a truth seeking, knowledge seeking. Man, I have yet to Man, come on, man. Yeah. I'm a truth speaking, knowledge seeking. Islam, man. Come on, man. What a glorious day. But without further ado, man, I want to give gratitude to all my brothers, man. I want to give gratitude to illumination and understanding, because it's so important right now what's going on in today's world. And hey, man, let's just be real with things. Once you understand law, once you understand spirituality, and they go together, you're not worried about who the president, you're not worried about Democrat, Republican, you're not worried about Crip and Blood, you're not worried about Christian, Muslim, none of that, because you know, and we are under the triple rose, and we have our nationality and our spirituality. Nothing can stop nothing. We are in the Constitution. Today, it's so, how can I say, it's so important to understand who you are and not use words to identify you to a Negro, Black, or color that's synonymous to slaves.
Come on.
Like, it's everyone's talking this Black language and all what they doing to Blacks. And I say, man, clearly your language and your vernacular is so off that you cannot know law when it's dealing with ethnicity and nationality, because Black has no standing in law. And I don't care what religion you may be, brothers and sisters today that may be listening to me, my Christian brothers, my Muslim brothers, my Jehovah Witness brothers, my whatever denomination you are. The common denominator, if you say that you down with reparations and then use the words to identify yourself as Negro, Black, and color and African American, is something wrong with your mind. I'm telling you. And it's
Can't be thinking minor, gotta be thinking major.
And it's coming out with everything. Everybody's making a big hoopla about, ooh, they're stopping a Black history. And then I say it ain't no such thing as Black history. It's American history. That's why you don't know all the stuff in history that I'm teaching here. You don't know about Mr. Hoosier from Indiana, all that history that I show you in history books, that in the schools, they started you in the 19th century. What, slavery? They tell you a couple things in history, but they're not going to tell the all truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God, to show where you at in history. That's why I'm not worried, and you shouldn't be worried about politics, because if you have life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness, you have a clear understanding of nationality is the order of the day. You have a clear understanding how you sign.
That's why they make you swear on the Bible in court, right? You got to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and it has to do with law, not how you feel.
Thank you. And we're trying to unite our brothers and sisters. I know who I am. That's why I say, man, it's the time. We're not, like I say, Ninja Turtles per se. We got to go in places. We are holy men. We synchronize in the scriptures. Hell, Farrakhan being the church is speaking truth. We must too, because brother's ego is messed up. I have to go where my people at. Y'all are my people. Go out and bring people in, no matter how you can. But it's other people that we need to reach, and that's what's happening. That's what we seeing. What, the world. So watch this. I got 2 films I'm going to play, but I'm going to illuminate a part of history from scholarship, because this should be valid for all of us. It's not, that's why it's American history in black and white. That's why when you watch the film, David Barton, and when I show you the film probably another day on Mr. Hoosier, they're going to say this is just American history that's not taught in the classrooms. And here it is, someone that look like you teach this. This is a gift. So remember, this is the book that they give you in school in academia. 1776. I'm going to narrate something. The manner in which American colonies declared themselves independent of King of England throughout the different provinces of July 4th, 1776. You see that right here, right? I ain't holding up nothing different, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
This is Exhibit A. Yes, sir. So, Exhibit A, if you go to page 43, I want to show a picture on Exhibit A. Exhibit A, let me see if I can get some little light. Exhibit A is a picture of the so-called Battle of Bunker Hill. This is the so-called picture of Battle of Bunker Hill. In this picture, you don't see Peter Cromwell. I mean, Oliver Cromwell or Peter Salmon. You don't see them in here. Nowhere in the picture. Let me narrate a little bit. Two lanterns, shown in the tower of Boston's North Church on the clear moonlight. On the clear moonlit night of April 18th, 1775.
Your volume fell.
You say what?
Your volume fell down.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it went low.
Can you hear me? Is it better?
It's low on my end. Maybe it's mine.
You're clear. I hear you clear.
Okay. Malik probably going through the matrix.
You're a little louder. You're a little louder now.
Islam. But units of the British Army were on the move to destroy rebel powder stores and supplies. Signals across the New England countryside were warning American militia companies of General Gage's secret intent. The people of Massachusetts were roused. Across the waters of Boston Harbor, Paul Revere. Now keep Paul Revere, because that's what they teach here. Paul Revere. Express rider of the rebels, roused from the town to the opposite Cambridge shore. One lamp was to shine if the British marched across the Boston Neck towards Lexington and Concord. Two indicated that they would be taking the shorter route by boat to Charleston, then marching the 21-mile route from there. Revere was ahead of them. The British plan to seize the stores was the outward sign of the tensions which existed by 1775 between the British administration and the American population. Those parliamentary acts provoked the Boston Tea Party, which had brought economic distress to Massachusetts, had done nothing to reconcile American opinion to the British point of view, though there were hundreds of New England colonists who still looked to George III as their king. Executive power in the colony was beginning to move away from the royal assemblies and to be assumed by self-appointed American bodies. Listen clearly. The First Continental Congress had met where? In Philadelphia in September 1774. And the Massachusetts Provincial Congress had set itself up in Concord as a revolutionary government. Thomas Gage, commander-in-chief of the British forces and governor of Massachusetts, had informed London that it would take 20,000 men to reconquer New England. London might not be sending reinforcements on anything like the scale. So Gage had about 3,500 men in Boston, but some sort of action as demanded at once. So local spies had told him of the stores. So then the story says Paul Revere was not alone that night, writing the news to the farming communities. Listen who they named. Dr. Joseph Warren, soon to be president of the Provincial Congress and living in Boston, had asked a neighbor, William Dawes, to take the land route to Lexington and Concord. With Revere in the lead at Lexington, rebels leader John Hancock and Sam Adams stayed at Local House, were warned that the British were coming and they might be arrested. Dawes, Revere, and a new recruit, Samuel Prescott, now made for Concord. Not long on the new road, the riders were surprised by patrolling British officers. Dawes and Prescott escaped. Okay. Headed for, you say what?
Oh, none, sorry.
Okay. Headed for Concord. So Revere was taken in custody. Back in Boston, Lieutenant Colonel Francis Smith of the 10th Foot had been given the task of leading the Redcoats on the raid. He had 8 light infantry companies, the Fast Men. So I just want to stop right there. I don't want to get too far in the story because I want to make an emphasis on something. So when you get this book, especially in academia, it's something that's whitewashed out the history book. Watch this. Oh, yeah. See, this is what needs to be taught. Like all my professors said, you're just going to have to make this known to your people. They say churches have classes in schools. You're supposed to be teaching all this to your people. You know? And it's no secret. We have to spread this. The history and spirituality coexist. So watch this. Setting the record straight. Setting the record straight. American History in Black and White by David Barton. David Barton is the film we're going to play. David Barton is a European, Albion, Trellis, whatever you want to call them. I call them truth tellers. So let me give a little forward because I want to play at least one of the films. African Americans originally came to America unwillingly, having been stolen and sold by Muslim slave catchers in Africa to the Dutch traders journeying in America in 1619. Yet they have withstood those dark beginnings to become the fiber in the fabric of American society. And let me just stop right there. All misnomer black people didn't come on no boat, you know, because we got facts to destroy that. How? The one world Tartarian from other Europeans, showing you that the slave trade didn't happen like that from history. So we're always going to give scholarship. Like my professor saying, they're not going to teach what you teach because if they know, they're not going to tell. That's what Carter G. Woodson was saying, the miseducation of the Negro. The preachers and the teachers. The scholarship been here. This stuff older than me and you. Yet they have withstood the dark beginnings to become the fiber in the fabric of American society. As President William Howard Taft, as he noted, their ancestors came here years ago against their will. And now this is their only country and their only flag. Not true. I understand what he's saying. They have shown themselves anxious to live for it and to die for it. But our prophet already showed this. The story of African Americans is not unlike that of God's chosen people, the Jews, originally prospering in their homeland. They were taken to a foreign land where for centuries they lived in slavery until God delivered them and established them in a new land, overcoming their tragic beginnings. African Americans, but we can always fact check that African American oxymoron thing. Because I tell all misnomer black people, if you're African American, then where your dual citizenship to Africa? You ain't got one. So let's proceed. Have triumphed and prospered. Or in the words of Joseph, whose brethren sold him into slavery, you intended evil against me, but God turned it for good. James A. Garfield, America's 20th president, personally witnessed the final chapter in the deliverance of African Americans from slavery in America. He fought to abolish slavery as a Union general during the Civil War. Remember, one of the forgotten cause of the Civil War was what? If you had a tittle of that Negro blood in you, you was a nigga, excuse my candor. Afterwards, as a member of Congress, voted for the abolition of slavery and led in the passage of almost 24 civil rights bills. But civil rights, forget that. I'm dealing with human rights. That's why I tell misnomer black people, you were arguing about some 14th Amendment for Negroes. I'm talking about if the 13th Amendment freed all misnomer Negroes, black, colored, African Americans, what's the use for the 14th and the 15th Amendment? Manumissions. That's why I'd be laughing. But that's a whole nother teaching. Clearly you don't know 13th, 14th, and the 15th Amendment. Clearly you don't know manumissions. Clearly you don't know what the Reconstruction laws is. Clearly you don't. We are in affairs that has nothing to do with you. Why? Because you identify as a slave, Negro, black, and color, and African American. According to science and law, it has no standing. These are facts. And then they try to throw the Dred Scott law in there like you meaning something. Well, if that's the case, the Dred Scott law says Negro, blacks, and color is never going to have no rights that nobody got to abide by. So what you saying? What you saying? Really what you saying? Nothing. And then in the same voice, say black. In the same sort, African American. It's sad. And then in the same voice, reparations. Sad. 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 And I say, because Negroes, blacks, and African Americans, they operate on emotions and not law. Garfield fought side by side with the African Americans during the Civil War, and after war, he worked side by side with the Americans' first African American congressman to pass those early civil rights bills. President Garfield proudly declared of African Americans, but we know where all that African American stuff come from. Jesse Jackson and I forget the lady name. They came up with that. What should we name the black people? And it's in your Exhumed Other Nation. It's in there on page 32, I think. With unquestioning devotion to the Union, with the patience and gentleness not born of fear, they have followed the light as God gave them to see the light. The 4-century-long story of misnomer African American political history truly is an incredible story, but much of the early history is now unknown. And remember, in the history books, I have to illuminate things to you where I say I love our prophet and I love history, but I'm alive in the flesh, so I can add value to and make you think and come from no biased perspective. This is why most today know about the last 50 years, the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., W.E.B. Du Bois, Malcolm X, but few know much about the extraordinary heroes from the first 3.5 centuries of the history. For example, brothers and sisters, who today know the amazing story of Reverend Hiram Rhodes reveals. Most people don't know who they are. The first misnomer black U.S. senator, or that of Joseph Hayne Rainey, who overcame slavery to become the first misnomer African American elected to the U.S. Congress and to serve as Speaker of the U.S. House, or of John Rock, the first misnomer African American admitted to the U.S. Supreme Court bar. The reintroduction of this history is long overdue. And speaking of the accomplishments of President John F. Kennedy once observed, I am certain that it was no easy task to compress into a single volume that the American Negroes' century-long struggle to win the full promise of our Constitution and Bill of Rights. Such was the case with this work. Indeed, it was no easy task to compress into a single volume the stories of so many notable heroes, but he tried. So here it is, the author saying, it's so many brothers and sisters that look like you, misnomer African Americans native to the land, that accomplished so much. He have to write so many more books to talk about this. And that's why we're gonna play films of them talking about it. The same thing that I have done. In the preparation of this work, I have asked by African Americans and the Anglos alike. The Anglos, the Anglo-Saxons. See, they be telling you exactly what it is. Alike, why I, as an Anglo, he's an Albert, he's saying why, as an Anglo, will care about the story of African American political history? And the answer is simple. It is because I am an American, period. The story of African American history is a part of American history. And I am an American, therefore it is part of my history. Furthermore, I am inspired by all stories of sacrifice, courage, patriotism, regardless of the skin color of the hero. The stories of African American heroes such as Richard Allen, Henry Highland Garnet, and John Roy Lynch are as thrilling to me as the stories of all American heroes from Lewis and Clark. And when you read the stories of Lewis and Clark adventures, if you read Lewis and Clark telling you what they seen in the Americas, I'm sorry, to Helen Keller, to Alvin York, I hope that you will be inspired in reading this work as I have. And so I'm gonna give a little preface of this, and then my brother gonna play the film because I don't want to stay too long. I said I'm gonna give about 30 minutes. So here go to setting the record straight. Now remember I showed you the picture from 1776, the British story of the American Revolution, what they give the kids in academia, in school. And you didn't see a certain figure in here. Now listen to this. Check this out. Clear your ears out, because this is American history. From today on, you should start asking some questions. Setting the record straight, American history in black and white. Exhibit B. African American history, so much of it is truly unknown today. For example, few know of James Armistead, a black patriot and spy who helped make possible the 1781 Yorktown victory during the American Revolution that established America as an independent nation. Huh? or Peter Salmon, a black patriot who was a hero of the 1775 Battle of Bunker Hill. But I just showed the book. You ain't hear nothing about them, that, did y'all? Huh? Y'all still there?
Yeah, no, we didn't hear nothing about that.
No, they did drop about that.
See, I need y'all here as a voice now. See, I'm not making nothing up. You ain't hear nothing about that. Here's why. And you telling me you can't challenge scholarship? I'm showing you what was whitewashed in the history books from scholarship. What I call the reading list. Watch this. He also fought as one of the legendary Minutemen and was a soldier at the battles of Saratoga and Stony Point. In fact, family, a monument was erected to his memory in Massachusetts to commemorate his life and deeds. In the famous picture of 1776 crossing of Delaware on Christmas night, 2 men depicted at the front of the boat include Prince Whipple and Oliver Cromwell, 2 black patriots who served George Washington and other American generals during the Revolution. And here is the book with them. You probably can't see it because the picture's small and it got them circled. They whitewashed them out of the pictures. They in the original pictures. But the book I showed you that they give you in school, they done whitewash them out. They done whitewash them out. They done whitewash the brothers in the boat. They done whitewash them out. You got Peter Salmon at Bunker Hill, and then you got Prince Whipple and Oliver Cromwell right in the damn boat. Few Americans are aware that many of the soldiers who fought during the American Revolution were black. And unlike the later segregated regiments in the Civil War, many of the units in the American Revolution were fully integrated with black patriots fighting and dying side by side with their fellow comrades and soldiers. Don't that sound familiar? What, Hebrew Hill? Don't that sound familiar?
Yes, sir.
Don't that sound familiar, Hebrew Hill? And then now we finna start doing some more. History gonna start connecting because you were free men, Amazigians. Amazigian name you gave yourself. You were free men. That's why they always talk about the slaves and the free men. Huh? I hope y'all catch them. While this part of history is unknown today, Americans knew this information. It said Americans knew this information. Americans knew this information in previous generations. So if I'm saying Americans knew this in previous generations, that means we digressed. Americans knew this. Like my professor saying, we know this. That's why when I used to be on campus, all those teachers and they used to be like, we already know who you are. I used to talk to my dad. They used to be like, don't you drive that Camaro with the rims on it? You wear that fez and that turban. We know who you are. They used to tell me don't join. They used to tell me don't join those black groups. They're like, you're gonna be wasting your time. No European, I'm just being honest. In academia, you're not gonna meet a whole bunch of people that look like you, that's anointed and consecrated, that's initiated. You have to be, and the wisdom was introduced to me. That's why I share it willingly. I ain't took no oath. I'm initiated under the wisdom. Don't nobody have nothing on me. That's why I'm a holy man. That's why I can go to any place and be light, because I don't diss nothing. It ain't no problem with me knowing who I am. Why is the problem knowing who I am? And all this in the history books in academia. Everything that I get is scholarship, peer-reviewed scholarly research. And I don't even have to come from a misnomer black perspective. I can use all European scholars to prove my point and rest my case. I'm using one now. So let's deal with the facts, man. Because history is not prejudice. We have to do this. This is for our babies, man. This is for us to stand up and be like, wait a minute. This is what's going on.
Wow.
While this part of history is unknown, today Americans knew this information in previous generations because of black historians. Like my professor said, because of you. You bringing something back to the people. It's for your people to make this something. You're using the internet to teach. You're not on here telling nobody to this or they this and they not this. When I give information, I'm not saying I'm better than one. I know who I am. It's okay for me to teach my brothers and sisters to be proud from history and science. But we got this from scholars and educators in previous history, such as William Neal. Neal was an award-winning young scholar in Boston during the 1830s. Probably never heard of him. Who studied law and became the first Black American to hold a post in the federal government. Just like when I be talking about Deuce Muhammad Ali. Look what Deuce Muhammad Ali did. People were inspired. The prophet had to be inspired. These people was before, certain people time. Abdul Hamid Solomon, and then you get these Moors because they be trying to play Crips and Bloods. And I say, man, I ain't got time for that stupid stuff. I'm dealing with the science and the wisdom and the understanding. I don't got time to be playing with no ego, with no Negroes that's dressing up. Got time for that. I put my faith in no man. In 1852, he authored Services of Colored Americans in the Wars of 1776 and 1812. And 3 years later, he penned The Colored Patriots of the American Revolution. Despite such extensive works, and I have all these documents. We went over all this in academia, and then the first thing you hear misnomer Black people say is they hiding something from us. Who is they? Tell me who is they? Because if you want to hide something from a Negro, put it in the book. Nobody hiding nothing from you. All this stuff is free information. You have to be introduced to it. Some people eye ain't there. What you say, may this please be placed on your YouTube page? I don't know how to do this. I think I am on my YouTube page. Ronald Swinton, peace and love. But despite such extensive works, many of our early misnomer Black heroes and patriots are unknown today. And equally unknown is much of what occurred in misnomer Black political history. That history will surprise and shock many, but it is history based on indisputable facts and documents. Just like I can prove that the misnomer Black man is the father of civilization, proved by the Bible alone. And then people that's prejudiced and hateful gonna say, well, color don't matter. Okay, well, if color didn't matter, why they didn't tell the truth? Why they just didn't break the science and the linguistics down? Because I'm a scholar, I did this in academia. People that are lost in translation and mistranslation. It's no disrespect. You got to have a lexicon to break these words down and from facts. As I've been showing with all the European scholars, they saying the same thing I'm saying. Too often, only a handful of our heroes from misnomer Black history are presented, much like showing only a snapshot or two of several albums of photos. Too much information is not presented today, and often too many conclusions are wrongly assumed from the little that is seen. Just like Carter Woodson told people, the miseducation of the Negro is the preachers and our teachers and educators. That's like the Bible says, woe to you lying pastors, woe to you lying lawyers. Like, come on, man, how can we have the same books and coming up with our own conclusion? How? That to me, that's osmosis. That's osmosisly understanding. It can't be that way. It can't. For example, while students in school early learn from the first load of slaves sailed up the James River in Virginia in 1619. That's why I could debunk the whole 1619 theory. We've done this in academia. In academia with professors all over the world. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. And thus slavery was introduced into America. Few learn about the first slaves that arrived in Massachusetts colony set up by the Christian Pilgrims and Puritans. When the slave ship arrived in Massachusetts, the ship's officers were arrested and imprisoned, and kidnapped slaves were returned to Africa at the colony's expense. That side of the history is untold. And a similar omission occurs when the signers of the Declaration of Independence are discussed. For example, my brothers and sisters, if asked to list the slave-owning founding fathers among the signers, no one will hesitate to name Thomas Jefferson. But if asked to name a second slave owner among the 56, few other names would be mentioned. And if asked to name the anti-slavery leaders who signed the Declaration, probably no one would mention Samuel Adams or Stephen Hopkins or Benjamin Rush or Eldridge Gary or James Williams or John Adams or Roger Sherman or Benjamin Franklin or John Witherspoon or the other anti-slavery founders. To identify these individuals, I can show you illustrations, later in the book. But today, Black history, and this is not Black history, this is American history, too often is presented just from a Southern viewpoint, describing only slavery. starting in the 19th century. Because they don't want to talk about white cargo and they were white and they were slaves. Man, it's so much history. They don't want to start talking about the one world Tartarians and showing you that the slave stuff ain't happened like that. They don't want to show that, but it's here. This is scholarship. It's here. If they burn it all up, the book of Eli is right here. They can burn everything up like they did, like they tried to do in Alexandria, but it don't matter. I'm telling you, the scholarship been here. You know, only from a slave point. Yet there was also what many call a northern viewpoint with many praiseworthy events. And to be completely accurate in the telling of American history, they say black, but you know, the story must be told not only from the martyrs, but also from the heroes. Just as was done by famous black historians such as William Neal, Carter G. Woodson, Benjamin Quarles, Joseph Wilson, Booker T. Washington, Edward Johnson, and others. One of the world's oldest history books, the Bible, offers a good lessons on the point and affirms the approach taken by these misnomer black historians. What'd you say? Hold on. Also know the Bible story of David's victory over Goliath. Yet the Bible also tells the story of David's adultery with Bathsheba and of his failure with his son Absalom. If only David and his failures were mentioned, that would not be the complete story. So it's so much, like I said, I don't want to stay too far in it because I can go so far in it. I want us to come to class and learn because it's so many points. I will make a few little more statements and we can get into this film because it is another point. You say what, Noble?
Can I comment on that, what you just said?
Absolutely.
The sharing of the faults in regards to David.
Absolutely.
As well as his. So when we take that in, we need to really appreciate in our journey the fact that we're going to have peaks and valleys.
Islam.
It's never going to be a straight path. Because why? Because we got to grow in certain areas. And everybody has their own shadow work to do. With that, I say Islam.
That's why I tell people, Noble Drew Ali didn't set it up for a whole bunch of people to be some fake oxymoron sovereign citizens arguing and making ourselves look like a fool. I use this to network. This is a safe place. Like I said, I know who I am. I'm in Arizona. I travel all over like this. I'm a pleasure to be around, but I don't take no crap. I don't have to. I don't break no laws because I know who I am. And the world have no problem. And I'm anointed and consecrated. It makes a difference. I ain't saying I'm better, but watch this. And there's so many pictures in this. Well, that's why I want, if we convert this to a PDF, that's why I want people to have it, because once we can play it again and we can start showing the pictures and all this stuff that was in certain newspapers, how they got the Democratic Preston Brooks attacking Republican Charles Sumner for speaking against slavery. All this stuff was in the newspapers, in the archives. If I go into the libraries right now and look for periodicals, I can find all this stuff. I used to do this when I got my dual master. That's how I got all these documents. Man, I got millions and millions and millions, and y'all know this. The work that I put in, because that's my calling. You can see this stuff, but I want to give you all this little history. Watch this. Amazingly, according to Democrats in 1856, ending slavery would not only be dangerous, but would also ruin the happiness of the people. Despite such clear differences, the Republicans lost that election. The next year, 1857, a democratically controlled Supreme Court delivered the Dred Scott decision. Because you remember back then it was a Republican or a republic. Remember that. Then, declaring that blacks were not persons or citizens, but instead were property and therefore had no rights. So when you got all these Negroes, no disrespect, on TikTok talk about y'all got to be scared of the 14th Amendment for all black people. Well, okay, and throw the Dred Scott law in it, which we played that. The lady just yelling. I said, you got to be an op or something. I don't care what you're saying. When you use black, you don't got no standing in the law. So whatever you using to defend yourself, you lost. You defending a lie. Like please stop. In fact, quoting from the infamous decision, Democrats on the court announced that blacks had no rights, which the white man was bound to respect. and that the Negro, now they say a black Negro, also African American, all synonymous to slavery, might justly and lawfully be reduced to slavery for his benefit. See? In the 1860 presidential election, Republican Abraham Lincoln ran against Democratic U.S. Senator Stephen Douglas of Illinois. But remember, before Abraham Lincoln was the president, he defended what? The Moore Court, the Spencer and Dungy case. I hope y'all know this. It was illegal to be Negro, black, and colored. I'm telling you, you got to know this. The Dred Scott Law was never abolished. So when you fight the thing, when you go to court, talk about some reparations, you're already going under a pretense. Why? Because black has no standing in law. That's why. So you done off the beginning. You done off the beginning. You going in there and it has no standing pertaining to ethnicity and nationality. Clearly something wrong with the mental. You need to be locked up for contempt of court or something. Both parties, again, issued platforms. The Republican platform of 1860 blasted both the Fugitive Slave Law and the Dred Scott decision and announced its continued intent to end slavery and secure equal rights from black Americans. But on the other hand, the Democrats in 1860 platform supported both the Fugitive Slave Law and the Dred Scott. In fact, Democrats even handed out copies of the Dred Scott decision along with their platform to affirm their belief that it was proper to have slavery and to hold African Americans in bondage. So I just wanted to give you that little note. And the last note, because all these brothers in Congress that you see right there, I mean, you got Haram Road reveals from Mississippi, ordained minister. He served as a missionary and pastor, recruited 3 black regiments, and was a chaplain during the Civil War. Reveals became America's first black U.S. senator. Next was Benjamin Turner of Alabama. Turner was a slave during the Civil War, but within 5 years after the war, became a wealthy and prosperous businessman. Third was Robert D. Large of South Carolina, born as a slave. Within 3 years from the end of the war, he was serving in the State House. He also chaired the Republican Party Platform Committee and became a statewide elected official. Fourth was Josiah Walls of Florida. Walls was a slave during the Civil War and was forced to fight for the Confederate Army. After he was captured by the Union troops, he promptly enlisted as a Union soldier and became an officer. Following his election to Congress, his credentials were challenged by Democrats, and he was twice sent home. He was re-elected after the first challenge, but during the second challenge, Democrats regained control of Florida, and he was prevented from returning. Fifth was Joseph Long of Georgia. Born a slave, he was self-educated and built a thriving business. However, when elected to Congress as a Republican, Democrats boycotted his businesses, causing him great financial losses. Long was the first black American to deliver a congressional speech in the U.S. House. Sixth was Joseph Haney Rainey of South Carolina. Born a slave, he actually served briefly as a Speaker of the U.S. House and was in Congress longer than any black American from that era. Seventh was Robert Brown Elliott, also of South Carolina. He was well educated, reading in Spanish, French, Latin. In Congress, he led the passage of civil rights bills over the strident opposition of congressional Democrats. He later became Speaker of the House in the state legislature. Just as they had with Representative Josiah Walls, Democrats in Congress regularly challenged the credentials of black Americans attempting to have expelled from Congress on the technical or procedural grounds. An 1870 Cleveland newspaper described the attempts by the Democrats to prevent the seating of Haram Road reveals as the nation's first black senator. So it's talking about all that. It's just so much. But this is going to have you opening your eye. When I talk about the Southern redemption, the effort of Southern Democrats to restore the South to the racial condition of white supremacy, but I don't believe in white supremacy, that had existed before the Civil War. The best way for the newly restored Democrat legislators to redeem their state from what had occurred to them following the Civil War was to deprive black Americans of their political rights by the passage of state laws that restricted, removed, or even blatantly violated their civil rights. But I talk about human rights. as well as through the prompt repeal of state construction laws. Remember, Reconstruction laws, manumissions, I've been telling y'all, that have suppressed Klan violence. So watch this, y'all. I wish y'all can see this. I'm gonna show y'all this picture, and then I know we're gonna play this film. Y'all see this picture right here? Y'all see that picture of the so-called European Albion trailer-like woman cutting the hair off the so-called melanated woman? Can y'all see that? Can y'all see that? Yes?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
Now watch this. Listen to this. Listen to this science, this analogy. Democrats understood how important it was to their survival to prevent blacks from voting. In fact, remember when misnomer blacks voted, it took a certain amount of them. They wanted them to vote for a specific person. Watch this. They understood how important it was for their survival to prevent blacks from voting. In fact, an illustration from that period showed an allegory of the Bible story of Samson, who lost his strength when his hair was cut. In that illusion, the woman named Southern Democracy had used her razor called what? It was called the lost cause. The lost cause regained. The lost cause regained. Watch this. To cut the black Samson's hair and cause him to lose his strength. And what is his hair? His strength is called suffrage or voting. With the strength or the vote of misnomer black Americans removed, various democratic groups and leaders were rejoicing in the background. Confederates, the KKK, pro-slavery forces, and several famous Democrat leaders of that day, including General Nathan Bedford Forrest, the first Grand Wizard of the Klan. I got illustrations of that in the book. And by the way, you got to understand the phrase, the Democratic barbecue, and that Democrats are burning various books in their foreground, including the Bible. You know, limiting black voting became the major goal for Southern Democrats. And I want to stop right there. They got illustrations all in their newspapers showing them burning them. The so-called white Christians. It's there. So I just wanted to show that part in history, family. You know, Islam, gratitude, and my noble. I think we got a little bit of time. I know I went a little bit over, but I think the film is not that long. You know, we can play the first film and we can save the second one for a later date. But the first film is just an introduction. Y'all see, as Noble getting the film ready. This is the 1828 Webster Dictionary. Let's go to American. A native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper color races. Found here by the Europeans. But how you gonna find something that's already here? So science will tell you a certain person came to a certain land that they was native of, and you saw what was here on the land. The Aboriginals, the native to the lands, or the copper color races. Found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. But now apply to the descendants of Europeans born in America. You see? This not hard. It's not hard, y'all. Come to class and learn.
Program's over because you're going to want to know more about what you're going to hear about. This is a special program we're going to bring to you. It's a series from an incredible DVD and book that David Barton put out a couple years ago called Setting the Record Straight, America's History in Black and White. And I'm telling you, you've got to watch this video. You've got to read this book. The information is incredibly powerful, and it will absolutely blow away a lot of the things that you've heard, that you've been taught. Frankly, what I was taught, I really was amazed at how much I learned whenever this information was put in front of me. So make sure that you enjoy the program today, and over the next few days as we share the DVD with you. It's the information from the DVD that was made, but then get the DVD so that you can actually watch those reenactments, so that you can see some of that powerful information as well. We're going to jump right in. It's called Setting the Record Straight, American History in Black and White. We're here in an African-American museum to talk about African-American history, so much of which is truly unknown today. For example,
Do you know of James Armistead, a black patriot inspired during the American Revolution who helped make possible the 1781 Yorktown victory that established America as an independent nation? Or Peter Salem, a black patriot who was a hero of the 1775 Battle of Bunker Hill. He also fought as one of the legendary Minutemen and was a soldier at the battles of Saratoga and Stony Point. And in the famous picture of the 1776 crossing of the Delaware on Christmas night, two men depicted at the front of the boat include Prince Whipple and Oliver Cromwell, two black patriots who served with George Washington and the American generals during the Revolution. Few are aware that many of the soldiers who fought during the American Revolution were black. And unlike the later segregated regiments in the Civil War, many of the units in the American Revolution were fully integrated, with black patriots fighting and dying side by side with their white fellow comrades and soldiers. While this part of our history is unknown today, Americans knew this information in previous generations because of the writings of black historians such as William Nell. Nell was the first black American to hold a post in the federal government. In 1852, he authored this work, Services of Colored Americans in the Wars of 1776 and 1812, and 3 years later, in 1855, he penned this work, The Colored Patriots of the American Revolution. Despite such extensive works, many of our early black heroes and patriots are unknown today, and equally unknown is much of what occurred in black political history. That history will surprise and perhaps even shock you, but as you will see, it's a history based on indisputable facts and documents. Too often today, only a handful of the heroes from black history are presented, much like showing only a snapshot or two out of several albums of photos. Too much is not seen, and often too much is wrongly assumed just from the little that is seen. One of the world's oldest history books, the Bible, offers a good lesson on this point. We all know the Bible story of David's victory over Goliath, yet the Bible also tells the story of David's adultery with Bathsheba and of his failure with his son Absalom. If all we learned about David were his failures, that would not be the complete story. On the other hand, if all we learned about David were his victories, neither would that be the complete story. It takes all of these accounts to present the full, accurate story. So from the Bible, and from former writers in black history, such as William Nell, Carter Woodson, Benjamin Quarles, Joseph Wilson, Booker T. Washington, Edward Johnson, and others, we learn that you must present the good, the bad, and the ugly to get the full story not only of history in general, but of African American political history in particular. Although the history of black Americans begins in 1619 with the arrival of the first slaves in America, the political history of black Americans actually begins in the year 1787, the year in which the American political system was constructed. 1787 was the year the Constitution was written. Today, many critics assert that the Constitution was a pro-slavery document, and to prove this, they point to the 3/5 clause, claiming that the Constitution says that blacks are only 3/5 of a person.
Stop it right there.
One of the first Americans to investigate this claim was the...
Let's stop it right there, because I don't want to play the whole film. What we doing, we want to bring people in, to get them familiar with what we're doing. This is an introduction. I gave the history. I gave a little preface of the film. Anybody can pull this film up, but we want to show you what's here. This thing that I've been teaching is scholarship. Even I don't even think people know of Henry Hoosier. I don't know if you got that film. If you could just pull that. Henry Hoosier is so important in history. What we don't know, when everybody finna get ready to come with this misnomer black history stuff, and it's gonna be a repeated thing, slavery, black. No, even though he's talking about black history, I'm in the flesh. I can correct the language when it's pertaining to nationality and all that and say, I understand that, but I'm not black and we're not gonna use that. I'm just showing you in history what a person that looked like you have done. But now today, that's what's going on today with people arguing about the 14th Amendment. Listen, there's no need of the 14th and the 15th Amendment if the so-called 13th Amendment freed misnumbers and misnumbered Negro, Black, and color and African Americans. This is the stuff that you have to know, And so when we use certain names that identify the slavery, we don't know history. But we give credit to the illumination from all different academia showing you who you are. But the perspective of today, when we're talking about some human rights and some reparations and some Black Lives Matter. You can't put black in the same language as with reparations and human rights. That's what you can't. I'm adding on to, I'm adding on to. And so today, with everything going on with the laws and everybody arguing over, it's not going to be no more Black history, this, and that, and the other. Okay, well, what is Black history? Why not just American history? Why not we just be responsible, us as ministers and teachers and scholars, to teach our history and teach American history all the time, and don't wait for no month that someone created to say this is the time to speak about you or your history. Cause there's a lot of stuff, family, that's not true, y'all, with so-called Black history. I hate to say it, brothers, as we open up this platform for conversation, brothers, it's no such thing as no Willie Lynch letter. If it was a Willie Lynch letter, it'd be in the Library of Congress. That is Eurocentric and Negrocentric propaganda. That is not scholarship. I showed from academia where that letter came from, and they let people just have it. I showed my brothers and sisters that Alex Haley plagiarized that whole Roots thing, and Kunta Kinte and his family, that he plagiarized that from a European named Harold Kollner, a book called The African. I show us this, man, over and over and over and over. We have to get this, because history, it's the truth, and it's only one. It can't be racist, it can't be biased if I can pull this out of the history books and show you who we are. That's why I say we got to get out of when people be arguing about rich people affairs and entertainers and what other people are. I said, but what about you? Because you still let somebody else tell you who you are and talk about, I don't want to make people mad. How can you make a person mad and the world upset by identifying who you are if you jest? How? Nobody got to have a problem with my fez or my turban and me speaking like this. So, like I said, as I close, man, anybody got any questions or anything they want to add? Because we're going to, like I said, misnomer Black history getting ready to come up, and I got a plethora of films. I got a plethora of films from scholarship that's going to go with everything that I play. And I'm going to reveal the books and the documents, everything that I show. I have the research. I have the books, the documents for you to study for yourself. This is a school. That's why Noble Drew Ali set up the Moorish Science Temple for academia to understand who you are. How are you going to teach civics and you're not even civil? You don't even understand these things. People worried about some other stuff because poor people, because misnomer Black people chase money. I'm talking about power. Money is nothing if it ain't attached to no power, if it ain't attached to no nation, if not attached to a movement. It's the people behind things. Money is nothing without the right vessel. And so it's the people. And so that's what I tell us, man. And with that, I say gratitude. And anybody got anything they want to add or anything?
Much love and gratitude. You know what I'm saying? That's what I always want to add each and every time. But just to add on to what you were saying, for lack of better terms, ain't no such thing as Black history. And if it is a such thing as Black history was made by, a quote unquote other man, not the man that is supposed, that's the plan of somebody else. You know what I'm saying? That's just like a manifestation of all the misconception that somebody said, hey, I want to put all of my misconception on display and then claim it for my own, but that's not even a part of your plan. You know what I'm saying? So forget Black history. You know what I'm saying? None of that.
Absolutely. I mean, we be holding on to things that's nothing. I tell people, what? You're not an American? What is Black? How can you? Black African American is an oxymoron. I'm an American. I'm a Moorish American. I mean, it's already done. Why do we hate who we are? Why do we hate that so much? That's like I'll be telling misnomer Black people that may not even know the prophet or know the prophet. I think you hate because you gravitated to the wrong type. What? To the negative type, which most people do. They gravitate to the negative. And the righteous be right in front of them, and they don't want it, but they want to go right to the negative and then complaining. Well, you had the clean right there in your face, but you didn't want to be disciplined to the clean. You wanted the clandestine. And so you go to the trickery, and then everything that you know is going to happen is going to happen. I tell brothers, like, it's you can't have a lawful fight under words that has no standing in law. And when I tell misnomer black people this, I said, you so educated with all these letters behind your name, you in this group, and I got a history of black history and this, and you in the group and all this. And I say, okay, well, according to science and law, it's silver mortis. You don't know Latin, you don't know what you mean. Okay, well, how? We black and we know law. Clearly, identifying the black, you can't know law.
And the crazy part about celebrating black history is just basically solidifying the future of a slave. You know what I'm saying? Because black history, what are you continuing to relive and continuing to make, quote unquote, like people are trying to make black history, you know what I'm saying? So it's like post slaves who are, you know what I'm saying, quote unquote, think they free, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? They continue to make black history, or continue to put all of their accolades behind people who have been free slave and we've been stuff way before that, you know what I'm saying? So I understand, I get it to the degree of wanting some type of not only recognition, but creating some type of esteem for self. But when you're doing it wrong, man, sometimes you're just sincerely wrong. Sometimes all your good intention can be paving the road to hell. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because people can be sincere, but sincerely wrong. When I tell people, who are you talking to? Where are you comparing and contrasting? Nowhere. I say, where are you getting your information from? TikTok, this. Do you have a library? No. So we operating on feelings. And that's what most Negro, colored, African Americans do. They operate on how they feel. Like Big Mama, oh, don't you touch my deeds, don't you do this. It's like, we ain't doing that, but I'm saying, if you don't know and Big Mama taught you, then what you being taught? Something that you don't know from Big Mama.
Yeah.
I mean,
you gotta go and get the truth for yourself. Hold fast to that which is good.
Yes. I ain't saying Big Mama don't love you, but Big Mama can be sincere and sincerely wrong. And that's the truth of the matter with this science. When I say a clean glad, we ain't going nowhere. Truth has no size. It's like a lion. It could defend itself by itself, and it'd leave it on the floor. We're going to teach this truth regardless if it fill a room or clear it out. It's always like this. That's why truth has no size. That's why they might not like our feds, which I can care less. They might not like wearing our turban. I don't care. Everything we do is in the biblical scriptures, is righteous. Our turban's in the Bible. The follower of Yahshua wore a turban with the jewel on it, the high priest. They wore bonnets. Muslims call it a kufi. Bonnet is in your biblical scripture. This is our national headdress. Masons wear it in clandestine. That's why you'll never see a misnomer black Mason wear their fez in regular life, because they took an oath not to tell you the truth. That's why misnomer black Masons always say that they a widow's son, and the European Mason will tell you that he or she is a son of a Muslim. It's just facts. See, it's just facts. Ain't no one lied to you, but your own kind have buried you in a shallow grave, and we have the pieces to build you back up from history of spirituality and righteousness. From no one can deny what we're saying. Why? Because we operating on love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Something that can be proven in biblical scriptures and historical scriptures and lawfully. And we have the right of nationality. We have the right. That's the Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15. You have a right of a nationality. You have a right to change it. No one will be arbitrarily denied of a nationality and a right to change it. And to claim a child replaces the birth certificate. House Joint Resolution 75, where you have the right to annex your L and B. Religious rights to indigenous people, you have the right not to assimilate, the right to have your teachers and your books, the right to wear your cultural dress. We're not out here to overthrow no government like those goofy sovereign citizen Negro militia. We're not that. I told you, I've been breaking this down for a long time. I've been for years and years, just like Noble Alonzo put in the text stream of the dude talking about how these Negroes just be acting like people, be gatekeepers. And I said, if these fools lying, what? You can get off the internet if you don't want nobody to expose your lying. I've been telling people all this stuff, people can nationalize and all this. I've been telling y'all this for years. They're going to have to pay for what they did, because you can't take the stuff back, all the stuff with this and then trying to say, well, it don't mean this and it don't mean that. None of that stuff mean nothing. That's what I'm telling you. It's a whole bunch of poor science. And I don't operate like that, man. I'm a holy man. I'm a God man. This is the clock of destiny. I'm an educator, and we're going to teach regardless. And if our people that don't look like us don't want the science, that's on them. Then that's the ones that identify as Negroes. But it's people that like the science. It's just like when I told y'all about the science of Henry Hoover. Man, how long we been on? An hour? We'll play that another day. How when the man was so dynamic, he didn't convert just his people. He converted the Europeans too. That's why I tell people, if don't nobody want your teachers and you a teacher and you teaching civics, and if you teaching mathematics and others want it, what you gonna do? Not teach? Not give your God-given ability? And then your brothers say, well, why are you teaching these other people? Negro, you don't want to be taught. All you want to do is go to the damn basketball game and buy Jordans and go to the club and smoke weed. This ain't interesting to you. This don't.
Not go bury your talents.
You say what, Brian?
I said you better not go bury your talents.
I'm not. All these books, this whole library I have more books and documents than Amazon. And Negro, you selling books to other people? Yeah, you ain't buying none, and I got them way cheaper than anything. You don't come to class. It's people that call me male chatter that beckon me. They're like, well, can you just teach me and my children our brotherhood? And I share this with people. We don't want it. And this is what I'm telling you. A God man is going to be who he is no matter where he go. There's no biasness with what we teaching. This is what I tell my brothers and sisters. Today this is the shift, knowing who you are. When we talk about the SF 181 form and all this stuff pertaining to ethnicity, it is a key. I'm giving the keys. It's what we have to do as a collective. I don't care what your religion is. I have an understanding. It's all monotheism. I tell people I'm under the triple rose. I have a clear understanding. It's nothing outside myself. The biblical scriptures teach us that. We are in the image and likeness of the Creator, so we can't be no Negro slave because the Creator didn't make no slaves. You got to understand this. So I'm here to liberate us and resurrect us, man, not to convert no one. That's not my mission. I can't convert you to nothing. But I would love for my brothers and sisters to open their heart and just challenge themselves. Bring your wife, your kids, your family, someone that you know. Stop worrying about the affairs of other people. Worry about your affairs. The world don't have no problem with you knowing who you are. Once you have a clear idea of that and you move away your emotions, you can see clearly. You can be like, wait a minute. I see what's happening. Why? Everything's supposed to happen. Why? I need to know who I am. I need to know my nationality and my spirituality. Why? I need to see clear. I need to have a clear understanding. I need to get rid of all my fears and my doubts and my assumptions. And so this is the place where you can learn. So once again, man, I give y'all gratitude. I give y'all love. And thank y'all for your time.
Peace and love, gratitude once again, Sheik.
You know it. Gratitude and love.
So
that it? That's it?
MyPDFBooks.com. That's
books with the Z.
once again, this broadcast has been brought to you by MyPDFBooks.com. That's books with a Z, where reading fundamental. Also brought to you by FindingBooks.com, where treasures are found. Be sure to get all of your teas at My Son's Teas, the tea of teas, divinely prepared at herbsofmyaunt.com. Be sure to check out all of those musical stylings by Brian Hicks Spade at bhspademusic.com. For your everyday items and religious regalia, be sure to check out MorrisHaberdasher.com. And for that everyday especial Morris Strip, be sure to check out MorrisSachi.com. And all of these companies are powered by ALO Design Pros. Design your online business strategy today.
No such thing as failure, baby. Don't forget who made you. You can't be thinking minor when you need to be thinking major. They made you think they saved you, but you can't nobody.
You need to be thinking major. Peace.
Peace and love, Sheik. Peace and love.
Peace and love. I thought that intro was running back. Peace and love.
Well, I ain't hear you.
I thought that intro was running back.
But shoot, nonetheless, you have an excellent day.
You
Gratitude for the teachers again.
Absolutely, man. Love you, brother. See y'all tomorrow.
Yeah, love you too.
Peace.